just beat that contestant to death. You are a killer. Killer!
Hello, as always, I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be taking a first look at the closed alpha of the Culling, which is an online multiplayer battle royale game very similar in style to the Hunger Games series. Now, the game is being developed by Xaviant, who are probably best known for Lichdom Battle Mage, which came out a couple of years ago. The Hunger Games style game arena match is nothing new in video games, and there have been some great iterations that have been made. These, however, usually come in the form of add-on modes to existing games or mods, like the various Minecraft mods that have been released. It's pretty rare thus far, however, to see a game that's core design solely focuses around the Battle Royale style arena match. The premise of the game is that you are a contestant on a show called The Culling. In a remote island paradise, you and 15 other contestants have 20 minutes to explore, scavenge and craft what you can, and then proceed to kill each other, all the while the arena dome around you closes in with toxic gas. Now, while the premise is very much Hunger Games-esque, it's a little less ceremonious, and it's more game show-like, which is emphasised by the commentator, who frequently updates you if someone dies, and is also the voice of their health and recycle machines, and he does often have a funny quip or comment to say. A great example of this is when someone kills someone else with their bare fists, and the announcer will then broadcast to everybody, "Someone just beat someone to death with their bare fists. They fisted them." All of the commentary is very tongue-in-cheek, and it really does add a humorous tone and a game show-like feeling to the overall game. Now, before you enter the arena, you'll select your loadout, your choice of airdrop, and your outfit. Your loadout consists of choosing 3 perks for the match. All of these perks are available from the very start, so there's no perks to unlock, and there are dozens of them to choose from. You can choose a perk that will essentially enhance combat bonuses, crafting bonuses, health buffs, and more. It's about finding the right 3 perks that complement your playstyle. I myself heavily favoured getting up and close and personal to kill others, so I found that my 3 perks worked wonders. My first perk granted plus 10% damage to all weapons. My second perk that I chose was a health regeneration perk that granted me 1 health every 5 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but 1 health here or there could have been the major difference in a fight. And the last perk I chose focused on defense, which granted me 10% damage reduction all round. So overall, I felt that these perks really complemented my playstyle because I could give extra damage out, take less damage coming in, and health regen, and kind of, if I needed to run away and hide, I would be able to constantly regain health without the use of a bandage or a med pack. What I do love about the Culling is that the game gives you so many ways to play. There's a ton of different game tactics that you can try. You can try and be an aggressive brawler like I was. You can go ranged with bows and guns. You can be a trapper and craft traps to maim and blow up people. The perk system gives you the choice on how you want to enhance your playstyle, but it never once feels unbalanced or unfair. It's designed in a way that skill trumps everything, and it doesn't matter if the enemy has a 44 Magnum and I have a stone knife. If I'm skillful enough and quick enough, I can win without a problem. And I really like that emphasis, skill over everything else in the game, and especially in a Battle Royale style match with perks and different builds, it never really feels unfair, and I never feel underpowered on my choices. I always feel like I have a fighting chance no matter what the situation is. Airdrops are essentially boxes that you can call in to have set items and weapons inside them. To call in an airdrop, you must use up a pretty hefty amount of the game's in-game currency known as Funk, which stands for Flexible Universal Nano Compound. It's essentially a fancy way of saying nano machines. Funk is used for everything from crafting to containers, and is gained in-game by a variety of different ways, from killing enemies, finding Funk containers, and you also gain it over time for surviving. Now, once you're actually in a match, you are dropped into a random location on the island in a box. 15 seconds later, the box will open and the 20-minute countdown timer will start. Now, before I wanted to talk about combat, I want to talk about the game's crafting. Now, Funk is used for crafting because essentially Funk and the nanomachines are essentially the mechanical and law way of getting rid of the chorish nature of crafting in video games. It is fair to say that I really do hate crafting in video games. I hate inventory management. I hate really long, complicated recipes. I hate the fact that I have to create tools first to then create the item that I want. I hate having to scour places for the different, not really obscure items for the recipe. I hate all that. The Culling has none of it, which is fantastic, especially in a game that you have 20 minutes to go around, get what you need, and then kill everybody. You don't need that kind of long, complicated nonsense in the crafting system. And Funk basically trumps all of that and gets rid of it all. Crafting in the game is dead simple. There are a wide range of recipes to use, and you essentially only have to go up to the items and press F and use up part of your funk to create the item you want. So, for example, 2 rocks together makes a knife. A knife and a branch together makes a spear. Or 2 branches makes a bandage. A bandage and then go up to a branch and use that. That makes a satchel. A satchel and then a rock will make a body armor. And it's that simple. All you have to do is go up to one item in the hand, look at the other item, press F, and 5 seconds later, you have the item that you need. The only thing that you are required to have is enough funk to craft that item. And it's that simple. And I really like that about the Culling. Crafting is easy and it's ultimately quick. And that's what's most important. In a game where there's 15 other people trying to kill me at any one time, I don't want to be caught standing around waiting 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute to craft one item. I want to get it done and over with quickly and then get back on the move. And Funk system really allows you to do that, which I find a much more enjoyable way of crafting in a game. And I think that this particular crafting system has been really well designed. It's fast, it's fun, and it allows you to craft what you want, but at the same time takes away the overcomplication of more traditional crafting systems in other survival games. But that's enough about crafting. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the island itself. Now, the actual island location is huge. The arena is huge. The actual closing in of the map doesn't actually take place until under 10 minutes. So you usually have 10 minutes of the full island to explore, and there is a lot to explore. There's loot items, there's buildings, there's jungles, there's swamps, there's hidden areas, there's cave systems, there's all kinds of things in the map. And it is very, very populated. There's a lot of the actual elements each time are random, meaning that map knowledge is important, but so there's things that will remain the same, like the location of an airfield or the location of a medical building, but the actual placement of individual loot items and what item's going to be where is completely random each time. So it's never going to give you the advantage to know that you got a 44 Magnum in the chest on top of the medical building, because next time it's not going to be there, which is always a nice thing, because I think they would have really put a downer on it if there was set items everywhere, because then it would ultimately come a game of who gets there first. So the level design is nice. Now, this being obviously alpha, there's a lot of placeholders involved, but what I was impressed with was the audio side of things. Listening to your surroundings is one of the most important survival tools in this game. You can get a kind of general idea of an enemy's location depending on how hard they're running. If they're running, you can hear them rustle through the trees or step hard on the concrete, or even if they're rummaging through a container, you'll be able to hear them. And the same goes for them for you. So if you're making too much noise and just running erratically, then people are going to be able to pick out your location very, very quickly. And it does help, because at the end of the day, it's a 360-degree movement. If someone's going to be sneaking up behind you, if you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear them move. And I really like that about the game. I think the emphasis on the audio side of things is really key here, and especially for a survival game. And I think that so far Xaviant have done a really good job on it. I think the visuals do need a lot of work. But as I say, it's still in alpha. There's still a lot of work to be done. The placeholders need removing. I think the game does need a lot of performance improvements. It needs optimization because there was frequent frame rate drops here and there. But overall, it was a fairly stable alpha for the most part, bar a few crashes here and there. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the thing that is ultimately going to make or break this game, the combat. The Culling focuses heavily on the melee side of combat. There are plenty of ranged weapons in there. I personally don't like the ranged combat. Not that it's bad, but mainly because I'm absolutely terrible at it. It's not, the ranged combat isn't bad. There's a nice physics system in there that, the further away you are, your shots are going to dip like they do in a game like Battlefield, where if you're trying to snipe someone, your shot is going to dip depending on the distance, and that is in there. I do like that about the game, and I think that if I spent enough time trying to get proficient at ranged combat, I could. I know that I've been killed several times by people who are fantastic at ranged combat, even against melee combaters. I mean, I once tried to take down a guy with a bow, and he was that skillful that he would keep jumping and weaving away from me, and then shooting me with a bow and arrow in the head, point blank range, and I would go down fast. So it's not that the ranged combat is bad mechanically. I personally, subjectively, did not like the ranged combat because I was awful at it. But like I said, the Culling does actually focus more towards the melee side of things, mainly because of there are more melee weapons to use right from the offset. So there's very few ranged weapons that you can actually craft from the get-go. You can craft a blowgun, which I actually think is pretty much necessary from the get-go, because blowguns, while they don't do a particularly great amount of damage, they actually inflict poison, and that is a really good bonus to have in a combat situation, because if you poison your enemy, every now and again they're going to freeze up and throw up everywhere, which gives you the chance to then basically have a free shot at them. Now, when I came into the game, combat was my biggest worry, because ultimately, if the combat is unbalanced, if it is not skill-based, if it is designed poorly, then ultimately this game is not going to succeed, because it is a multiplayer-focused game that ultimately, at launch, is looking for a player base to latch onto it and then grow from there. And multiplayer-focused games need players. That's the point. And I think that if this game had poor combat design, or felt unfair, or felt that, if you went into it and even as a new player and you didn't feel like you had a chance, then people are going to play and then turn off straight away and not come back to it. Thankfully, the Culling is not designed that way. The way the Culling's melee system works is fairly simple. You have your basic attack, you can charge a swing, you can block, and there's a shove system, which is basically you can push people. Now, if you block someone's incoming attack, they are going to be stunned for you to then attack. If someone pushes you while you're blocking, then it's going to break your block and you're going to be stunned. Charge swing's going to take time to charge, but ultimately does more damage. And also you have, the idea of the different weapons all do different things. So there's a tiered system to weapons, and each tier obviously is going to be a better weapon and do more damage. Weapons have different effects. For example, blades inflict bleeding, bludgeoning weapons inflict weakness. So it's going to, multiple hits from a bludgeoning weapon is going to deal more and more damage. And there's a lot of tactics that you can use. So, for example, if I've got a samurai katana and I have several perks that increase bleeding and increase backstabbing, because blades have a higher impact on backstabbing. So I could sneak around and then pretty much a couple of hits and someone's going to be down from behind, and that's that job done. The melee system is designed in a very simple way, but also in a very fun way. It's really simple to learn, but you get more and more proficient at it as you go along. I was terrible at it the first time round, and then by the end I was, being in the top 3-4 players of the arena, and, we would have pretty long drawn-out melee battles in the end, because, we're blocking, and it was like a game of chess. We were waiting for the other person to try and, see what their weakness was, see what moves they were going to make. And even though there is, a lot of blocking, a lot of pushing, and a lot of hitting. It never felt slow in any particular way. It never felt too fast that I couldn't understand what was going on, or I was just getting beat down and it was all over an instant. It has a really nice balance to it where it's fun, it's engaging, but it's skill-based enough to that if you're going to get better, you can get better at it, and when you're good at it, you're going to be good at it, but it leaves a simpleness to it that new players can pick it up very, very easily. So, I mean, I think overall, mechanically, the combat is very solid and very enjoyable. I don't think it looks particularly great at the moment, and I think I will be looking forward to a higher variety of weaponry come the full early access launch at least. But I think overall there is a good core game there. I think that the game has been very well thought out. I think that a lot of the traps that a game like this would fall in traditionally, they've avoided those by having very good game design. And I think overall my first impressions of the game are very, very solid. I really like the culling a lot. It does the Battle Royale arena multiplayer thing really, really well. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of elements of different genres in that really meld really well. And I think the biggest thing for me was the combat and the crafting, and both of those have appealed to me. The crafting is not over complex and overly long and boring and chorish, and the combat is skill-based, simple, but fun, and I really like that. I haven't touched on everything the game has to offer. For example, even if you lose a match, you still get a cosmetic item as a reward, which upon release will be tradable on the Steam market. I haven't touched on traps or the extensiveness of the crafting system or the variety of the weaponry, etc., etc. But I think overall, as first impressions go, I think Xaviant have done a really great job with the culling so far. And, this is only an early alpha. And I think that this game, if they just keep improving it and keep polishing it, I think that ultimately it is going to be a fairly successful game for them, more so than Lichtenstein Battle Mage was. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts on the game are, and I will leave you with the rest of the footage from this match. See you next time.
Someone else just got cut into little pieces with a razor-sharp blade. Medical assistance. Is there pain in your toilet area? enemy was just beaten to death. Recommend this help station to your new friends.